I know. But the Rebbe said it was very important to learn in Yanim Gula Mashiach, both in Nigla and Hasidus. As you know, the Rebbe said the Rambam is of utmost importance, covers the whole oral Torah. And the Rambam is the source on Hilchos Mashiach. The source, right? And the Alter Rebbe says we have to learn halakha before we learn anything else. And this is the source. And when people challenge these shittas, the Rebbe said, this is our source, this is how we follow. So I want to cover all of Hilchos Mashiach in 2 Mashiach years. It's not that much. It's only 2 chapters. It's 4 halakhas in chapter 1. Just to give you an idea of how little halakha there is written on Mashiach. Every other halakhic work didn't include Mashiach. They only held practical halachas. But we'll try to point out some commentaries and some ideas here. Okay, Mashiach. In the future, a messianic king. And if you guys remember this Pitas, sorry, but if your Rambam is as schwach as mine, we'll go into a little bit more depth and we'll learn it as a minyan, Barabim, right? The schools of learning Hilchos Mashiach, a minyan, in skut kamoze. You know, so I don't lose you guys, I'll read it in English.
I thought you in English, I didn't know what you say.
In the future, the Messianic king will arise and renew the Davidic dynasty, restoring it to its original sovereignty. He will build the temple, gather the dispersed of Israel. Then, in his days, the observance of all the statutes will return to their previous state. We will offer sacrifices, right? I've heard such shittas that we will not offer sacrifices, we won't sin. The Rambam holds we will have sacrifices. Observe the sabbatical and the Jubilee years according to all their particulars described by the Torah. All right, here's the kicker. Anyone who does not believe in him, believe as in something passive, and does not await in him, active, await his coming, denies not only the statements of the other prophets, but of those of the Torah and Moses, our teacher. And there's a Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation, my friends. And for those that act like in Chabad, it's such a novel idea that we're actively waiting for Mashiach. It's right here in Nigla, right here in Rambam. I don't have to look too far. The Torah testified to his coming, as Deuteronomy 33:5 states. There's a Sugya in Sanhedrin that records an opinion which states that Mashiach will not be a man, rather it will just be God himself who redeemed the Jewish people. It's an opinion, but this opinion is not accepted. It's not an accepted opinion. So the majority of sages rejected this and said that one that holds like this, a person who denies Mashiach based on that opinion, denies the whole of the Torah. Mashiach is a man. Dalia, I don't understand what's funny either. That's okay. God will bring back your captivity and have mercy upon you. He will again gather you from among the nations. Even if your diasporas at the ends of the heavens, God will gather you up from there and bring you to the land, Eretz Yisrael. These explicit words of the Torah include all the statements by all the prophets. Reference to Mashiach is also made in the portion of Bilam, who prophesizes about 2 anointed kings. The word Mashiach literally means anointed one. So we say we want Mashiach now. We're saying we want anointed one now. The first Davidic king who saved Israel from all oppressors, and the final anointed king who will arise from his descendants and save Israel in the end of days. That passage in Numbers 24:7-8 relates. I see it, but not now. This refers to David. I perceive it, but not in the near future. This refers to Messianic king. I perceive it, and it's here now, and open your eyes. That's Lubavitcher Rebbe, my friends. A star shall go forth from Jacob. This refers to David. And a staff shall arise in Israel. This refers to the Messianic king, crushing all of Moab's princes. This refers to David, as Samuel states. He relates, 8:2. He smote Moab and measured them with a line, disseminating all of Seth's descendants. This refers to the Messianic king, about whom Zechariah 9:10 prophesies he will rule from sea to sea. So these 2 phases of prophet, they're a prophecy of how David and Mashiach will fight the wars of God and will be victorious. Edom will be demolished, refers to David, also in Samuel. Edom will become the servants of David. Sarah will be destroyed. This refers to the Messianic king. As Obadiah 1:21 prophesies, saviors will ascend Mount Zion to judge the mountain of Esau. Similarly, with regard to the cities of refuge, Deuteronomy 19:8-9, it states, when God will expand your borders, you must add 3 more cities. This command was never fulfilled. Surely, God, our Abishur, did not give this command in vain. But the Arizal asked a question about this, right? Because we say, we assume that these cities of refuge will be in the Messianic age. But the Arizal in Shar Mitzvos, he questions the need for cities of refuge in the Messianic age. right? He says, then God will cause the spirit of impurity to depart from the earth. And nation will not lift up sword against nation. If so, why will there be a need for cities of refuge at all? And in particular, more cities of refuge than what existed previously. Also, Minchas Chinuch, Siktei Kohen. There's a lot of commentaries on this. This question can be answered. Rabbi Tal is alerting us to an answer based on a passage from Yoma 88. And the Talmud relates how after Rabbi Yishmael inadvertently committed a sin, he recorded it in his notebook. I tried that, but I filled too many notebooks. When the temple is rebuilt, I will bring a succulent sin offering. Similarly, in the cities of refuge in the Messianic era, they will serve an asylum for those who killed inadvertently in the previous era. I don't really like this opinion, if I may say so myself. Because why should it be that in the time of Mashiach, we'll be having asylums for those that committed sins? Is that really what we have to do? But yes, my friends, this is an opinion of Torah. There is no need to cite proofs from the works of the prophets, for all their books are filled with subject of this matter. Okay. Halacha Gimel, we talk about how there will not be miracles. I have some problems with this shita. Chas v'shalom, I'm not saying it's not true. So the Rambam says it's true. But how are we going to say there's not going to be miracles? There's not going to be a change in the ways of the world.
There is not depending the condition in order to be Mashiach, not depending on to make miracles. Could be you will make a miracle.
Okay.
But it's not a condition of the divine to identify who is Mashiach, you know?
Thank you, Moshe. Anyway, the point is that the Rambam says one should not presume that the Messianic king must work miracles and wonders, bring about new phenomenon in this world, resurrect the dead, or perform similar deeds. This is definitely not true. The text of the Rambam in the Temeni version goes on to say, as fools say. Which is a harsh statement. As you're a fool if you think Mashiach is going to do miracles. But why, the difficulty I have with this is that he's building the temple, he's redeeming all the Jewish people, and he's revealing God. And how do we say that's not a change of nature? I don't know. Proof can be brought from the fact that Rabbi Akiva, one of the greater sages of the mitzvah of the Mishnah, was one of the supporters of King Bar Kotzabia and would describe him as Melech HaMashiach. He and all the sages of his generation considered him to be Melech HaMashiach until he was killed because of his sins. Once he was killed, they realized that he was not Mashiach. The sages did not ask him for any signs or wonders. So the fact that he was killed, he's not Mashiach, this eliminates JC. Sorry, JCR. JC is not Mashiach, according to our tradition. The main thrust of the matter is that Torah, its statutes, and its laws are everlasting. We may not add to them nor retract from them. So Rabbi Tauger tells us, the intent of this halacha, and surely these lines, is to negate the concept shared by the Christians and other false messianic movements, that after Mashiach's coming, the observance of the mitzvahs will be nullified. This concept is emphasized by the following lines taken from the Temeni manuscript of Mishnah Torah that were stricken from the printed text by the censor. Anyone who adds or detracts, who reveals false interpretations of the Torah to imply that the mitzvahs are not to be understood, simply is surely wicked and a not believer. There are religions that are saying such things, I've heard. Now we're going to talk about potential Mashiach and actual Mashiach. If a king will arise from the house of David who diligently contemplates... Yes. Except we're doing the shir in English, Moshe. Who diligently contemplates the Torah and observes its mitzvahs, as prescribed by the written law and the oral law, as David, his ancestor, compels all of Israel to walk in the ways of the Torah and rectify the breaches in observance and fight the wars of God, we may assure with assurance that we consider him Mashiach. But this, my friends, is not necessarily Mashiach Vadai. At this stage, however, he cannot be absolutely certain. Right? The Rambam will relate that later on that Mashiach will possess prophetic powers that approach those of Moshe. However, in the present context, the Rambam does not mention these abilities because he desires to emphasize that Mashiach's achievements as a Torah leader and not his individual greatness. So Mashiach's prophecies will approach those of Moshe, and as we know, there's a Moshe in every generation. So he'll compel all of Israel to walk in the ways of Torah. Okay. If he succeeds in the above, builds the temple in its place, and gathers the dispersed of Israel, he is definitely Mashiach. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He will, yes, thank you, Moshe. He will improve the entire world. Right? The Rambam says Jews are obligated to influence Goyim to accept the 7 mitzvahs and the fundamental principles of which they imply, as actually Rabbi Tauger's lesson. But it's a real shlichus. We need to influence the Goyim. Okay, so we need to motivate all the nations, right? As it says in Tzfaniah, I will transform the peoples to a purer language, that we will all call upon the name of God and serve him with purpose, right? So Isaiah prophesies, in the final days, the mountain of God's house will be established, and all nations shall flow to it. Right? Again, these are some of these parts of the text have been censored. If he did not succeed to this degree or was killed, surely he is not the Redeemer promised by the Torah. Right? Rather, he should be considered as all the other proper and exemplary kings of the Davidic dynasty who died. But what is death, I ask you? What is death? We know tzaddikim don't die the way normal people. So on the last halakha, relax, JC.
Sorry, now. All the service announcement that we're starting session.
Okay. We're finishing Moshiach, almost done. God caused him to arise and test the many, as Daniel states. And some of the wise men will stumble and try to refine and to clarify the appointed time, because the set time is in the future. Now we talk about Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth, who aspired to be the Moshiach and was executed by the court, was also alluded to in Daniel's prophecies. And it states, the vulgar among your people shall exalt themselves and attempt to fulfill the vision, but they shall stumble. Can there be a greater stumbling block than Christianity? All the prophets spoke of Moshiach as the Redeemer of Israel and their Savior, who would gather the dispersed and strengthen their observance of the mitzvahs. The last halakha. And we're in the middle of it. In contrast, Christianity caused the Jews to be slain by the sword, the remnants to be scattered and humbled, the Torah to be altered, and the majority of the world to err and serve a God other than the Lord. The Rambam holds that Christianity is mamish idolatry. Some people hold it's shituf. It's only a partnership. If it's a shituf, it's permitted to goyim. The Rambam holds it's usher to be Christian. The Rambam holds it is mamish and avera to be Christian.
What about Muslim?
Muslim, different story. Nevertheless, the intent of the Creator of the world is not within the power of man to comprehend. For his ways are not our ways, nor are his thoughts our thoughts. Ultimately, all the deeds of Jesus the Nazareth and that of the Ishmaelite, Muhammad, who rose after him, will only serve to prepare the way for Mashiach's coming and the improvement of the entire world, motivating the nations to serve God together. As it says, I will transform the people to pure language, and they will call upon the name of God and serve him with one purpose. How will this come about? The entire world has already become filled with the mention of Mashiach. This is the time of the Rambam. Helkas Kamavakama with the Rebbe and everything that he has done and is doing. Torah and mitzvahs. These matters have been spread to the furthermost islands and many stubborn-hearted nations. They will discuss the matters in the mitzvahs of the Torah, saying, these mitzvahs were true, but were already negated in the present age, are not applicable for our time. We know that's false. The Christians and Islams are false. Last paragraph, bear with me. Others say applied in the mitzvahs are hidden concepts that cannot be understood simply. It's what the Islams say. The Mashiach has already come and revealed those hidden truths. False, false, false. When the true Messianic King will arise and prove successful, his position becoming exalted and uplifted, they will then return and realize their ancestors endowed them with a false heritage, and their prophets and ancestors caused them to err. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait.